Now negative 55.5 is right, but we have some problems with these other values in here. So we need to determine what's going on. Let's see, because I know that the profits in this case right here should be 230, not 200. 50 and 50 should be 230. If anybody does a calculation by hand, you'll see. So let's go up here and change this to 50. Change this guy to 50. And we'll see what happens. It's 200. Anybody see where the problem is? Well, the problem is right here. Our fixed cost says 50. Where we know that our fixed cost, if we looked at the problem, the fixed cost should only be 20. Now, if you remember what's great about using data table, look, it automatically changed all of our values instead of having to recalculate everything by hand. Be careful on those kind of things when you're calculating them by hand. To make a mistake like that, it's kind of hard to undo all that. So if we see in this case, if we don't know what's going to happen in any given week, but we do know the likely outcome over the course of time, how many weeks are going to have demand in these values, our obvious choice is going to be $224 in profit. If we choose a strategy of producing or stocking 50, over the course of time, we're going to average at $224.5 per week. Yeah, we're going to miss out on some of the weeks where we might have made $355, but we're also going to miss out on the weeks where we would have lost $145. So, now the big question is, what if somebody came and offered us a crystal ball, a magical crystal ball, and maybe it's a great forecasting model that was recently developed by a professor at Georgia State University, a really, really smart guy that shops at Checkers a lot. So he comes up with this fantastic new model, and he can tell you with 100% accuracy exactly what the demand is going to be in each week into the future. So you can choose in advance what production strategy to use. So if you knew that demand was going to be 75, how many would you make? Well, of course, you'd make 355 units. What if you knew demand was going to be 60? How many would you make? Well, of course, you'd make 60, because that would give you the profits of 280. I'm sorry, if you knew that demand was going to be 75, you'd make 75 because your profit would be 355. If you knew demand was going to be 50, well, of course you'd make 50 because your profit would be maximized at 230. So if we use Excel to make this quick, we're just going to take the max. So each week we'd make our maximum profits. So we're going to take the maximum of each of these each week, just like so. And we bring those across. And so we know that we're going to make these max profits every time, but we still can't fight reality. It's still, this 50 demand is only going to happen 60% of the time. So we use the same formula that we used over here. And in this case, what we'll do is we'll copy that formula and put it down here. And what you see here is we have profits of, we're going to multiply our 60% times the 230. So 60% of the time we're going to make $230. And that means that over the course of time we're going to make $248.50 if we buy this new forecast model. So how much is that forecast model worth to us? Well, if we don't have the forecast model or the crystal ball, we're going to make $224.50 per week. If we do have because this is the most logical thing to do, is to make 50 every week, week in, week out. If we have the crystal ball or the magical model, then we are going to produce different amounts every single week based on what the model tells us demand is going to be. And now our profits are going to be 248. So how much more profit are we going to make every week if we have this magical forecasting model or the crystal ball? Well, let's just calculate the difference. So let's take this guy here and we'll subtract the max of our values up here. Now you may be wondering why I didn't just use the 224. The reason I didn't use the 224 is because if I use the 224, then the problem that we'll have is if I go changing any of these numbers might come out differently. And it might be that one of these other strategies is a superior strategy. So in this case, what we see is we have a situation where our value is, our weekly value is $24. Now, does anybody see a problem with that? You remember we had a problem earlier where we did not have the right amount of profit in our, we didn't have the correct amount in our cell up here. Take a look right here. What are each of these values supposed to give us? That's supposed to give us the maximum of all of our choices. Now that worked because it happens to be here, but if you notice, when I highlighted these cells, I didn't highlight our 75 production value. So let's correct that, and we're going to pull that down 1, because now we're picking up that production value of 75. Now it didn't change these two values, but notice what it did is it didn't pull in this 355. This value down here should have been 355. So I'm going to pull that across now. Now we have 355, which is the maximum of these four values. And when we do our weighting, we end up with 257 is now our profits, and 224 is the profits that we would get. So now we find that if we have this magical crystal ball, we end up making $33 more per week. So how much would we pay for this magical forecasting model? Well, I tell you what, we would pay anything right up to 33 bucks. Even if we paid $29.50, we're going to make 50 cents more per week by using this model. If we paid $29.99, we're still going to make more money every single week by having this model. So what we have here, this is called the economic value with perfect information. Right here, and this is called our economic value, our best economic value of these different strategies right here. And the $33, what is that? That's the value of the perfect information. So if anybody asks you what perfect information is worth, now you know how to calculate it. So hopefully this problem will help you, and now you need to take the same basic technique and you should be able to do it even faster with pen and paper. I spent a lot of time showing you how to use these formulas in Excel and how to use data table. Best of luck to everybody, and hope everybody enjoys working through this problem.